My name's Joni Hoffman, and I'm the festival coordinator for the West Virginia Quilters Incorporated. We are having our festival here at the Arena and Summersville Arena and Conference Center, and it is so good to be back in Summersville. We had a 2-year hiatus due to COVID. Everybody got lots of quilts done, and we are now ready to show off our work. I'm standing here today in front of the all-around Best of Show winner. Now this quilt was made by Sue Royer. She lives in York, Pennsylvania, and she is a Braxton County native. The quilt is called Grandma West Virginia Gothic, Grandma and Grandpa Hatfield. And this is Sue's actual grandparents. She does a technique of applique and then thread painting. And if you look at the dog down here under the porch, he looks like he's ready to get up and walk away. So this was our grand overall winner. It was done with machine work, but there's also a lot of hand quilting here. And if you look at our winners up here in the front circle, this one is a modern category quilt. It appeals to a lot of men. They like the clean, simple lines. And as you go down the row, you'll see more traditional quilts. And then you'll see one called Coal Miner's Child. That one was also done by Sue Royer, who did Grandma and Grandpa Hatfield. And at the very end of the row, you will see the quilt that was done for the best hand quilting ribbon. And that one, even though it's a small quilt, took her 17 months to make. So hand quilting is still alive and well in West Virginia, and we invite you to come over to see the festival. Today is actually our closing day, but we will be here again next year. We'll be here the 3rd week in June, back stronger than ever, and we will have a theme of Christmas quilts for the whole show. That doesn't mean that you can't enter any other kind of show, any other kind of quilt, but Christmas will be our theme. So come on, come by and enjoy yourself, and if you go to our website, www.wvquilters.com, you can see the all photographs of all of the quilts that will be posted on our website. Thank you, and I hope to see you here in Summersville. I'm standing in front of a quilt that is hand quilted. The way that we designate the hand quilted quilts is this little lady's hand, and she has a sign there that says hand quilted. The reason that this quilt is special to me is because of my daughter Rachel. When Rachel was 5 years old, she came home from kindergarten and she said, "Mama, I learned Roy G. Biv." And I said, "Honey, what's that?" And she said, "It's the rainbow, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet." And I thought, that's cool. So in May of that year, there was a 27-inch snowfall where we were living. And Rachel was home on a school day, and she wanted to make a rainbow quilt. So we picked out colors for a rainbow quilt. They're all there. She also picked out this border, which has teddy bears on it. That was her favorite fabric. Well, I made the quilt top and it got put away. And it kept getting put away until at the beginning of COVID, I decided the kid is now in her 40s. It's time to finish her quilt. So I put it into the frame, into my quilting frame before knee surgery, and I finally finished Rachel's quilt by the time she was 43. So there's a 38-year time lag between the start and the finish of the quilt. It's never too late to finish your quilts. This is also one of our hand quilted quilts. This quilt is called COVID 2019 Snow Globes. These snow globes are all colored. I'm not sure whether she used colored pencils or crayons, but she colored in all the individual snow globes, and then she did hand embroidery and little sparkly beading and trims on the snow globes. Then she set them together and quilted them with different things, and this is also hand quilted. This was done by Emily Bargelow of Parkersburg, West Virginia. This quilt is also hand quilted. The quilt top was made by a woman who is in her 80s, and she lives in central West Virginia. She took embroidery classes from Karen Phillips Schrawlin, one of our vendors here, and Marnell did all of the embroidery and all of the bead work, and then a separate woman quilted it for her. But this one is also hand quilted, and Marnell said it took her a few years to get it done. Probably not 38 years like mine, but a few years. This quilt is called Army of One, Quilt of Valor, and this was made by Barbara Jones with the help of a few of her friends. And it is to honor the service of her husband, David Jones, who retired from the military after 21 years. Veterans and the armed services are important to the people of West Virginia, and the Quilts of Valor project helps us honor those who served their country. So congratulations, Barbara, this is a really good quilt.
Hello, my name is Mary Beth Shreve. I'm the West Virginia State Coordinator for Quilts of Valor. A Quilt of Valor is a civilian award for individuals' service and sacrifice to defend our country's freedoms. The mission of the Quilts of Valor Foundation is to cover service members and veterans touched by war with comforting and healing quilts of valor. What we do here is make kits. Quilters make the star kits, make the star blocks, and then we award a veteran a quilt like this. They receive a handmade quilt. It's machine stitched with a label with their name, who made it, a certificate, and any veteran of any age of any war is eligible for a Quilt of Valor. And if you would like to nominate somebody, you would go to www.qovfquiltofvalorfoundation.org and go under nominations and nominate your veteran.
Hi, I'm Deborah Curtis from Elkins, West Virginia. I'm happy to be at the West Virginia Quilt Festival in Summersville, West Virginia. And I am so honored that this quilt got a first place award in the Best of Show Large Grand category. There's a long story behind this quilt, but I'll just share a few things with you. This swag was supposed to be arranged linearly and in columns, but it just didn't work. So I thought maybe if I would color and dye these white wedges, that would work better, would soften it a bit. And I got a few friends. We drove down to Marlington, West Virginia, and my friend Diana Beveridge, she's the painter in our guild, and she said, no, we're not painting it. She went into her bedroom and she came out with a contemporary quilt that had linear, straight lines and all. She said, let's do something like that. So they played with it. And it didn't work until they started to throw it around, and it made this swag. And just like that, it came together. It came together. And this quilt had been accepted in the QuiltCon, which is an international show. It was held in Phoenix, Arizona in February, and I was honored that it got accepted into a contemporary show where all of the quilters there are in their 20s and 30s, and here I am, a 70-year-old, and I got accepted, and I was thrilled to death. And Diana just brought the quilt to life with all of her beautiful quilting. You can see that the linear lines and the way she's got them configured really accented the swirls of the swag. And I guess I should tell you about how it got entered into QuiltCon and when I got notified. I never got notified online, but I emailed on a Sunday night, and I got a reply on Monday morning and said, you have to have this in Arizona on Wednesday. So I went upstairs to get the quilt, and I remembered it's at an art center on exhibit, so I had to call the director there and swap out the quilt and took it down to pack and ship. And I was telling everybody in the store what was going on, and two old fellows were behind me, and they toasted me and said, "Hear, hear," you know. And the owner came out of his back office, and he says, "I've got some wild turkey here. I think we need to make a salute." But it was snowing, so I didn't partake in that. I didn't want to wreck on the way home. But anyway, it got accepted in QuiltCon, and then it got a wonderful award here. And I'm so thankful to my friends and to the quilting world.
Hi, my name is Diana Beveridge. I'm located in Marlington, West Virginia. I own a small, long quilting company called Art Sense. The last couple of years, I've kind of been specializing in modern technique. This is my design and my pattern. I kind of come up with this graphic straight line quilting by accident, by playing. Deb Curtis's quilt, which you seen earlier, was actually, I quilted mine before I quilted hers because I was afraid that if I messed up a quilt, I'd rather messed up one of mine than one of my customers. Every line that you see on this quilt was actually marked before it was put on my machine. I didn't trust myself keeping my lines straight, so everything was marked. This was actually laid out on my bar, marked before it ever hit the machine. This technique is called modern improv piecing, which is basically you take two colors and you sew them together, and then you cut them apart and you sew together again until you get the size of the square that you want. Like I said, again, this is one of my original patterns and designs. It's a lot of fun.
I'm Barbara Starkey, and this is my quilt, and this is Sue Papchek. She quilted it for me. It's my memory quilt. It is what has happened in my life to improve my quilting. This is me and my sister. She started me quilting, and she told me if I was ever going to quilt, I had to learn to use a sewing machine. And my sister passed away, and this is her friend Joy, and she volunteered to be my roommate when I go to quilt things. And these are other people that influenced my quilting. This is Fran Kordick, and I took her class one time, and she says, "Why are you in my class? You don't use this machine. You do handwork." And this is Helen Scott. She designed the Bonnet Girls. So she's holding one of her Bonnet Girls. Fran's holding her quilt that was in her class. This is Martha Offit. She taught me how to embroider, and that's hers. That's the Poor Hughes. She had a seminar where I took a lot of these classes, and she taught a Hawaiian quilt class. And this is the secretary where I worked. She took me to my first ever quilt class, and it was a sampler quilt. And down here is my cousin, and she's an artist, and I started quilting with her lately. She has a quilting cabin, and she likes dark fabrics, and that's the best I could do. I told her I made her a pile of 3 inches, or 1.5 inches of 3 sheet. And this is Pearl Mize, a friend of mine, and we were doing some sewing in her house, and this is actually a block that was on one of her quilts that I made small. And this is a girl I took classes with, and she's on there because you went in class with her and you just had to smile. She just had the personality that just made you happy. And she was going to work with wool, so she's carrying a basket of wool. And the last one is Sue. She's on here because she quilts all my quilts, and I called her up and I said, "Sue, could you make me a whole cloth quilt for you to hold on my quilt?" I said, "Can you make me a 3-inch whole cloth quilt?" And she did, and it's beautiful. And that's all there is about my quilt. Oh, wait, there is one more thing. These blocks were piece of cake. They're two ladies, and these are blocks out of one of their books. But I made them the size of the picture in the book instead of the size they were supposed to be, about this big, I think, so they would fit on my quilt.
All right, my name is Amy Pabs, and I am here at the West Virginia Quilt Festival in Summersville, West Virginia. It has been a wonderful few days. I am from Leroy, West Virginia, which my house is at the intersection of a holler and a dirt road, so it's way out there. But this year at the festival, I have a series of my log cabin quilts as hanging as a special exhibit, and there are 23 quilts in the exhibit. But I wanted to talk a little bit about my book, which this book contains patterns for 19 quilts out of the series, and it is a bilingual book because my publisher is in France, and so it is written in French and English, so you can work on your French quilting vocabulary as you're going along. So if you would like this book, it is available from quiltmania.com. And a little fun fact about myself, my quilts are pieced on a 1947 Singer featherweight machine. So for all you featherweight fans out there, this is something you can do with that machine.
Hi, I'm Brian McCoy. I'm owner of Bolts & Quarters Quilt Shop out of Parkersburg, West Virginia. We are here at the West Virginia Quilt Festival at the Arena and Convention Center this week, and we are here sharing a lot of our products and fabrics that we've brought down from the shop to share with all of the visitors to the show. And we have several different quilts on display that I've either designed and or used different patterns to make. In particular, this quilt back here with the West Virginia colors is a quilt that I designed for our West Virginia Quilt Week shop hop that we just had last week. And it uses a panel that we had printed by Jason Yenner at In the Beginning Fabrics that has digitally printed pictures of 12 different scenes from around the state of West Virginia. So I've used the panel into this quilt that I designed to display the pictures and show you the versatility of using different panels. So we have different quilts throughout the booth with different size panels and pictures and different quilts that I've designed. I do classes. We do about 250 classes a year at Bolts & Quarters Quilt Shop, and I design different patterns and teach most of the classes that we offer there. So if you get a chance, come on down to the West Virginia Quilt Festival and check out over 200 quilts on display here.